Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Interesting Ideas. It's Friday, the 24th of June, and that's one of my favorite of the many sounders. It's from the BBC. And I'm reminded today, when I was at the BBC many, many years ago, I was doing a training program, and one of the programs I tried to do was where I got the music from Frank Sinatra, where he crooned out, "When I was 35. And then I went on to talk about what happened to me when I became 35, which had been just a few years ago at that time. And that was the name of the program. Well, I'm going to revisit that a little bit today because this is my birthday, June 24. And I've declared it to be my last birthday. That's right, the title is correct. I'm declaring this birthday to be my last birthday, and if you will allow me, I will take just a few minutes perhaps to share some things about living and working with a touch of class and why I am declaring this my last birthday. Those, I hope, will be some interesting ideas, and they'll begin right now. Well, let's go back in time. Again, as I've tried to point out to you, one of the advantages of living an experimental life is you do lots of things, and you make lots of mistakes. And because of that, as William Saroyan said, making mistakes is the only way you'll grow in wisdom. He says, unfortunately, you learn precious little from your success. Well, I have every right to be wise because in my experimental life, I've done a lot of things and they didn't work. Just like any experiment, you don't know if it's going to work. Some work, some don't. But in the meantime, you perhaps will learn from them. That's why, as one of my old teachers used to say, that's why experiments never fail. Or they don't have to fail because from them you can learn. Going through all of the old stuff I've done in the last many, many years, I came across an article which I now remember because I talked a little bit about it yesterday. But many years ago, I wrote an article, and it was called Walking Tall. Walking Tall. By the way, I love that expression, particularly now that I'm working a lot in the cowboy genre. And of course, the mark of the cowboy was he learned how to walk tall. Here I go. I've been fortunate to be asked to write a series of articles on business success, marketing, and personal growth and improvement. This is for a series of newsletters for the financial services industry. The last series has been on the theme of, here we go, building a better you. Now, not like Mr. Biden's Build Back Better, it's building a better you. Now, the following is one of my latest, and I want to share it with you. It is entitled, Walking Tall. Here we go. I've been fortunate in my life to find old books that have been life-changing. One time, at the bottom of a barrel of old recycled books, I found How to Win Over Worry by a man named John Haggai. Since I was then very underemployed and seeking to start my own business, the book caught my attention. Haggai said that fear and worry can be replaced by faith, and faith can lead to profound personal poise. May I say that again? Faith can lead to profound personal poise. Poise is mental balance, stability, ease in all situations, and dignity of manner. Cultivating the power of poise through disciplined living is part of the path that pushes worry and anxiety out of our life. Now, going back to right now, I remember that. And what he did is he took the words from St. Paul where he says, "Let your gentleness be known to all." But Haggai points out that the word gentleness, which is certainly a good word, could just as easily be translated as, "Let your poise be known and seen by all." And I marveled at that. Now, again, here we go back to yesterday. Shortly after that, I was at a garage sale and I found a small 60-page book entitled The Majesty of Calmness by William George Jordan. And the first paragraph hit me right between my worried eyes, because this is what Mr. Jordan wrote. Calmness is the rarest quality in human life. It is the poise of a great nature, in harmony with itself and its ideals. It is the moral atmosphere of a life self-centered and self-controlled. Calmness is singleness of purpose, absolute confidence, and conscious power, ready to be focused in an instant to meet any crisis. That was many years ago, and I said to myself, I want to live that way. And there was that poise word again. So here is the truth. Central to becoming all we can is the pursuit of personal poise. And then a little bit of Houstoniism, if I can share it with you. As a performance coach, I would challenge my men and women to say, poise is graceful, focused, organized effectiveness. Here we go through those 4 words. Graceful. Our personal presence, our public speaking, and our treatment of others is graceful. And I used a double meaning, not just graceful, but graceful, as in full of grace. Focused. We cultivate the power of having our mind and actions coming together to achieve worthwhile and profitable goals. Organized. Our time management, our personal habits, our sense of scheduling, and our personal discipline allows us to do good things. That's organized. Effective. What we do comes from deep personal energy and enthusiasm, and it makes a difference. Poise is personal influence and effectiveness. And people with poise are like the old Western movie characters. They walk tall. They are calm. And they bring courage and encouragement to others. Poise fights fear and can lead to high performance. There's an old prayer that goes, Lord, deliver me from all fretfulness. That's poise. To build your own business and to market you and to be a better you, seek to be a person of poise and walk tall. Well, there's my little meditation today on our discussion this week of what it might be to have class. What does it mean to be classy? Have real class. So I just submit that as one of my personal aspirations, that that might be, from time to time, how I live and work with others and reflect the grace that has been given to me. Walking tall. So please let that sit on your head and heart for a while. I would encourage you, if it was meaningful to you, nice thing about a podcast, you can go back and play it again. But that leads me to the next part, and that is, this is my last birthday. Well, that's coming up next. I'm Stan Houston. These are interesting ideas. When I tell my story, I oftentimes say that part of my story begins in October 1919. And of course, people can say, how could your story begin in October of 1919? Well, that is unfortunately the day that the man named Peter Hustad, who is my grandfather, was killed in a hunting accident in Minnesota. And what made it more tragic, it was his own cousin who accidentally slipped in the gunboat, and as his gun went off, it hit my grandfather right in the back of the head, and he was just 23 years of age. Unfortunately, his wife, my grandmother to be at that time, she had a child already by the name of Donald, who was 2 years old, and she was 6 months pregnant. And so when my father was born in May of 1920, she was a widow already. My father grew up without a father. Never knew him, never saw him. And as a result of that, the wonderful woman that had these 2 children had to go to work. And she found out that she could find a job working in an orphanage. And so she moved to that orphanage somewhere in the middle of Boone, Iowa, and then grew up with her boys. And they were basically kind of treated as orphans, and they never knew a father. Well, of course, guess what? That affected my dad deeply. And so my dad was living with that. And that certainly affected the way he was a father and related to me. And so that truly is a part of my story about how I am, what I am, and perhaps some of the things that are deep and difficult and maybe not so good about me. So that's my story. So I'm very fortunate because I have been from a family that they didn't live very long. My grandmother then, again, who I just barely remember because she was 3 years old when she died, and she was just in her 50s. And so when I reached the age of 70, I said, my goodness, how lucky I am. And I'm in good health. And then shortly after that, I was diagnosed with a serious bout of cancer. And as I say, thank goodness to Dr. Jim and Dr. Jenny and Jesus, I survived that. And now, for about 5 to 6 years, I've been cancer-free. And I also remember kind of a joke that when I was about that age, I remember George Will, who is a bit older than me, and he's a writer, and I used to read him quite occasionally, not much anymore. But he talked about being 70, and he said, the good Lord says we have 70, and if we have any more than that, we're more than lucky. And so he said, and he used the old Las Vegas expression, which I've copied. He says, if you're over 70, you're playing on the house. It's all grace from now on. And I've copied that line. Well, today I'm 77. I'm 77. I'm in remarkably good health. I was so grateful that I just tried to find a new doctor here in North Carolina and sat down and asked her, and she's obviously young enough to be probably a granddaughter of mine. Wonderful young woman, immigrant family from Bangladesh, and took the American dream, and now she's a doctor, and a very good doctor and highly recommended. And so I was saying, I'd like you to be my primary care physician. And so she went through this, and when we asked me my birth date, I told her. And she looked up and said, "Nah, you can't be that old." And I said, "Thank you for saying that." She said, "And you're in remarkably good health for a man your age." And she said, "What medications do you take?" I said, "Well, I don't take any. I take multivitamins, but I don't need any." And she said, "Really? You don't take any medication?" I said, "Well, I don't need any, right? Yeah, I'm not against it. I just don't need any." So I have been graced. So what I've decided to do is kind of celebrate my grace. And as my wife said, "What do you want to do for your birthday?" I said, "I just want to enjoy the day. I'm very, very grateful. I just want to enjoy the day." In fact, I said what I'm going to do is from now on, we're not going to celebrate any of my birthdays. Years ago, there was a famous actor. His name was Jack Benny, and his great storyline was that at the age of 39, he stopped counting. And so for the rest of his life, when people asked him how old he was, he simply said 39. Well, I've kind of liked that idea because I don't want people to fuss over me or celebrate any more birthdays. So from now on, I've declared this is my last birthday. I may have many years yet to come, but if I don't, because remember, every birthday could be your last. And if that is the case, I've still lived a full and graceful life. So why count? And I'm going to stop counting. Today is my final birthday, and thank you for listening to my final birthday story. I'm Stan Houston. Thank you for all your time and energy and the fact that you take time to listen from time to time to me and perhaps to share your stories with me too. I am grateful beyond measure. Best and blessings to us all. As Tiny Tim said, God bless us all, everyone. And we say that too. Amen. Bye for now.